bringing you the latest news from Monterey Athletics. This is the Plainsmen Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the High School Fan Zone on Cinco de Mayo. I'm Randy Rosetta. You're on 100.7 The Score. We are going to transition into the Plainsmen Fan Zone, and we're done with track for right now. Maybe done for track for the year now because they've run their state meets. We're going to talk baseball. We're going to talk Monterey baseball. I'm going to start out by just going to tear the bandage off here. Ralph Ramon and Jake with and Keen. Let me make sure I get this right. 6-22-1.
Yeah, I guess our last game was the good Lord, had other plans for us, which is fine. So we kind of just chalked that up as a toss. So 6-22-2.
We'll call it 2 then.
Yeah,
and those numbers are not Monterey. And I said this to Ralph the other day when we ran into each other. It's very weird for me to be neck deep in the high school baseball playoffs and Monterey's not there. I'm just so this goes back to when I was at the Avalanche Journal in the late 90s, early 2000s. Death taxes Monterey in the baseball playoffs. So I know it's weird for you. Now these guys, I know they're hungry to get back, but for you as a coach, that's got to be something that burns in your stomach right now as you start to get ready for what you want them to do in the offseason. Yeah,
absolutely. I guess since I got here in 2013, I think we only missed the playoffs one time. And then, as you move forward throughout your career, that's the expectation. And very excited when they named me the head coach and, thought I did pretty good, going 3 rounds deep, 2 years in a row. And then this happens, and what I'm getting at is no one really prepares you for this moment.
No.
And it's okay, and it's a humbling experience. It's like, hey, just kind of since our last game 2 weeks ago, you just kind of start thinking about what you did throughout the season and through practice and game prep and stuff like that, and you start tweaking a little bit, which is, I think that's good for everybody. With hardships comes good lessons. So that's kind of how we're approaching it moving forward. And we had after we had exit meetings, this past week, we got back to it today, and the kids were fired up, and had some guys speak up and act like leaders, and that's what we're going to need moving forward. So.
The other thing I told you when we saw each other the other day is I've done this for 35-ish years. It makes me sound really old, but I am getting old. Every coach I've ever covered, every coach I've ever known has a year like this.
Yeah.
And not that it's a good thing. You just mentioned how it's not a good thing, but it also kind of resets the mechanism physically, mentally, emotionally, because now these guys know this doesn't feel really good. Yeah. I'll get them to talk about it. It gives you something to build. I don't want to say you're building from the ashes, but it gives you something. It gives you a new foundation to start with.
Absolutely, and very excited about this next group. We've got a lot of kids that got a lot of innings this year and a lot of meaningful innings. With Javith he'll be a junior next year. Joaquin's going to be a seasoned senior. He's been on varsity since he was a freshman.
He's been around a while.
Yeah, and so is Jay. We brought Javith up 2 years ago as a freshman and to fill some roles. And these guys got a lot of innings this year where they've been in the fire, so they've been battle tested, and these guys are going to explode next year. Very excited about that.
We're going to talk a little bit more about some guys you brought up towards the end too to kind of start that process. You guys grab the microphone because Joaquin, you have been around for a while. I remember maybe Coach Metters last year. You jumped in.
He left right before we got.
So it was my first year as a head coach.
First year.
And you're a kind of a jack of all trades. I remember you were a catcher. I kept hearing either from dad or uncle, I can't remember who it was, that this kid's going to be Monterey's catcher. He's the real deal. And I saw him. I was like, okay, I get it. I see it. And then this year, the first time I came out, I think you were at shortstop.
Yes, sir.
I think you've pitched a little bit.
I pitched a little bit, yes, sir.
Played third base a little bit?
Played third, yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anything you didn't do?
Not really, no.
But I know that guy down to the far left there well enough to know that makes you very valuable to him because it shows him that he's got guys that are willing to put we before me.
Yes, sir.
Just something you kind of learn along the way, or is when you put that Columbia blue and red on, does that kind of accentuate that?
It really just comes with the game, honestly. Like, he really preaches real hard on just we over me, like the team before us, and he's got to provide for his family, and we're the team for him, and the M is just what he needs, and we got to be there for the M, not for ourselves.
So Javeth, I think I met you after your first varsity game. It was either one of your. It wasn't your first one. It was the first time that you did something.
Yes, sir.
You had a pinch hit single, maybe.
Yes, sir. I can't remember. I think it was I scored the run, or yeah.
You were young.
Oh,
I remember
I was
because
really young. I was 14 at the time.
Yes, I've got a 6. At that time, I had a 15-year-old daughter, and I remember talking to you and thinking my daughter would melt if somebody came up and talked to her like this. She would have no idea. And you did well. And I remember telling Coach that, heck, for a young guy, you did well. Well, now that's followed in what you've been able to do, not just in this sport. Coach and I have exchanged messages. You're a football dude,
Football, too. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You've kind of brought some chops there as well. You're still, even though I've given you credit for being comfortable talking to me, you're still a young guy. You're still learning all this. You heard me ask Coach about this. What does a year like this do for you in terms of kind of lighting the fire and what you want to do from here on?
Man, it's really an eye-opener. Coming from last season, it was a pretty successful season. We lost a lot of good seniors, and, they were real good mentors and leaders. And so coming from that year, it's kind of an eye-opener, really, because, you really see where you're actually really at and what you really need to do and what the program needs to do as a whole. And, it kind of, I don't know, it puts people in their place to where they need to be at and who's going to step up and actually lead the team and what's going to actually, carry us to be more successful in the next seasons.
I should have said this to begin with. That 6-22 and 2, it is. I think it was Bill Parcells said you are what your record says you are. Yeah. But I saw enough of your games to know that you guys weren't that far off. In your district, especially, a couple plays here and there, gain a little bit of momentum, things change. So there's pieces to build with, Ralph. Obviously, you brought these two guys. These are two of the pieces of the foundation. Mm-hmm. Real quick, because we're coming up on a break, what do these two need to do to kind of step up and do what Javeth said to be the leaders for you?
Especially with the experience that they've had, and they've been in the fire. They've both been in some big ball games as younger players, as underclassmen, and they know what it feels like. So they have every right to say, what needs to happen with our team, and I'll back them 100%. Obviously, with my approval, of course, but just the fact that they've been there and they've felt the experience, they've been in the fire, and very excited about seeing these two grow next year.
We'll come back and talk more Plainsmen baseball in the Plainsmen Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta, and we'll be right back.
Diving headfirst into Monterey athletics. You're listening to the Plainsmen Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back to the Plainsmen Fan Zone on a Monday night. I'm going to run through, if I can find it here, I'm going to run through the schedule one more time of games that are going on this week, because there are still some teams alive and well in the playoffs. Lubbock Cooper softball plays Fort Worth Brewer in Holiday, 6 p.m. Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday, 30 minutes later if necessary. In baseball, don't forget Lubbock Christian softball's in the state semifinals at 1:30 p.m. Friday at Allen Sachs Field at UT Arlington. Baseball, Friendships in the 6A Division II area round against South Lake Carroll. Listen to this road trip. You guys need to talk coaching to this when you get back to the playoffs. The Tigers and Dragons will play at Riders Ballpark in Frisco, 7 p.m. Friday, noon Saturday, and then 30 minutes later if necessary. Coronado and El Paso Americas play in 5A Division I in the area round. They play in Fort Stockton, 6 p.m. Friday, noon Saturday. Lubbock Cooper and Clint Horizon in the 5A Division II area round, 6:30 p.m. Thursday, noon Friday, and 30 minutes later. And Estacado is in the 4A Division I area round against Decatur, 4 p.m. Friday, 2 p.m. Saturday, 30 minutes later at the Hanner Sports Complex in Clyde, which is an amazingly great complex for a 2A or 3A school. It's pretty impressive to see what they've got for that level. Would you guys be excited about going all the way to Frisco for an area round series? Would you be fired up for that?
It's a pro park, man. It's a
yes,
pro
it is.
park, absolutely.
I don't know. I haven't talked to Chad Reynolds. I don't know if he lost the flip and agreed to that, or won the flip and said, "Let's just go do it."
I don't know. Well, for one, it's a natural surface, so that's the way baseball's supposed to be played.
There you go.
We got a little taste of that in the Midland tournament. We got a game at the Rockhound Stadium.
Yep.
Ended up tying Randall. So that was a cool experience for us, just to be in the same dugouts as, future professionals. They are professionals, big leaguers, I guess I should say. So it was a cool experience. I get to go to, being a Region 1 director, I get to go work the state tournament. So we get to run around at the Express field, which is pretty cool. So absolutely, these kids are more than capable of getting to something like that. Absolutely, they put in the time and the work for it.
Well, you don't have to point to anybody else. You can tell them what Monterey's done. What grade would they have been in 2019?
2019, man, I don't know, guys. My math's
5th and 6th grade, something like that.
Fifth,
Because that Monterey team went to the regional finals, played a team with a shortstop on it named Bobby Witt.
Yeah.
And Monterey gave them all they wanted.
Yeah, 6-3, 6-3. Those two games.
And Bobby Witt had to come in and close it out. He didn't have a great series against you guys. You guys pitched him pretty well.
I'll never forget it. I think he went 2 games. He went 1 for 8, but he made every sneaking play at shortstop.
Every play, and then he came up and got the sacrifice fly that gave them a little breathing room. If I remember right, they gave him the ball to
shut it down.
Inning,
it was all 95 for sure.
But that was a water hose team to me for you guys, because did any of those guys go on to play D2 or?
Well, 1 through 9, I think they had one maybe D2 guy. Everybody else were
No,
D1.
I mean you guys.
Oh, us. We had a couple of guys go D2. We had one kid went to the Air Force. Bradley Alexander, a couple of guys went.
That's who I was just talking to Reese Pena, because that's where she's headed.
Yeah, we had a couple of guys play some JUCO ball, but other than that, it's just grinders, man.
Yeah, because you guys, you look at the two teams getting off the bus, and you're like,
oh, absolutely. If we played on paper, they would have swept us off the floor or off the field, but
they didn't. And I'm going to guess that you would like to see some of that personality with these guys.
And that's what these two kids are about. They're very gritty. They're hard-nosed kids. They work hard. And what's good about both of them is that you only get so much time in a high school season as far as practice goes. And these guys will, either ask for a key. Hey, coach, I want to go hit. And it's just every day, and you can't keep them out of the cage. And they do a lot of it.
Get them one of their own.
If I could do that, I definitely would. But it's every weekend, every late night they want to go hit. And that's what it takes. It takes work outside of what you get, and these two do it all the time.
This is 2 of them, but you have some young guys that you brought up. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get us too deep in here and get you cut off, because one good thing about Monterey in the 4 spot is we get an extra segment, so we have some time to talk. You brought some young guys up towards the end. You have I'll say it again. You guys were not that far off. At 6-22-2 is what it is, but you guys were not that far off from me talking to you, getting ready for the area round.
Yeah.
And these 2 are a big part of that, but I want you, when we come back from the break, I want you to talk a little bit more about, because I think even when we sat down and you took the job, you talked about the kids coming. You were excited about 7th and 8th graders back then that were coming. So the future's never too far away at Monterey.
Yes, sir.
Just in baseball, it's just never that far away. So we're coming up on the break again. We'll come back and talk more Plainsman baseball in the Plainsman Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta, and this is 100.7 The Score.
Your inside look into Monterey sports. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back. One more segment of the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta. We've got Ralph Ramon, the Monterey baseball coach. Should I call you 3rd year or 4th year now?
Going into my 3rd.
Third.
Well, this is my 3rd year. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Going into my 4th.
All right. 3rd and a half. Let's
3rd and a half.
Call it that way. And he's got 2 of his guys who are coming back next year, Javeth Cruz and Joaquin Maldonado. You rattled off some names there. You have some other dudes coming back.
Yeah.
I don't want you to list them all, because I want these guys to talk a little bit about being leaders on this team. And Joaquin, Coach has anointed you a leader. I'm sure he's told you that. So what's your message to your younger teammates now? Not just the ones that have played varsity, but like Coach said, there's going to be some guys that have played, the young guys that came up at the end of this year and they'll come up next year that they're getting their first taste. What's your message to them about what you guys want to do?
I mean, really just keep working hard, like every day. I mean, it's really just it's a grind. I mean, we do it every day. You do it outside of practice, outside of everything. You gotta really put that work in, and if you really want to be better for the team, especially for the EM, I mean, it's a grind, definitely. And I mean, we're really trying to make it a really great season, obviously. I mean, every year's that goal. We have that goal, and it's just really just about the grind. I mean, that's all I can really say about it. It's just they got to, come to their senses and really know that this is what we're committed to. This is what we're going to do.
There's a difference between summer ball and freshman ball, and when you get up to the varsity level, it's the expectations are different. Javith, you learned that and lived that last year as a freshman in baseball, and then got to football this year and made a splash there. What do young guys have to adjust to and be ready to do?
There's big shoes to fill. There's a big role that you come into, and there's obviously better arms. They're bigger, faster, stronger. And so you really have to, focus and work on yourself to just be better for the team and be able to just adapt to that. You know what I mean? Because you're going against pretty good guys, that are way bigger than you, obviously varsity level players. So just got to, stay in the weight room, the chicken cages, whatever. You know what I mean?
And Ralph, this is something that I've done. Like I mentioned, I've done this for a long time, but it didn't resonate with me until I got to know some of the coaches out at Liberty after their first year, because they started their first year with freshmen and sophomores, and a lot of their coaches talked about young kids, when they're sub-varsity kids, they don't always understand that there's going to be scouting reports.
Yeah.
There's going to be, you're aiming for something at the end of the year to keep your season going, not just the season just doesn't end and you get to kick up your heels. And
right.
You're having to kind of work with guys that maybe haven't been used to that. You were a coach that coached younger guys for a lot of years.
Yeah.
What's that challenge been like for you to kind of adjust to that with them?
Especially with just the game itself. Why do you do certain things in certain situations, whether it's a pitching change or you have runners in scoring position, and coach, why did you make me bunt? Stuff like that. That you don't think about it when you're younger, because you're just up there taking your hacks when you're younger, getting your reps, and then you get to the varsity level, you're gonna do everything you can to win, whether it's a sack bunt or a hit and run, stuff like that. Double steal, delay steal, just little nuances of the game like that kind of go overlooked when you're on your younger teams. And I'm not saying they don't work on that stuff in summer ball, but sometimes summer ball's it's got its place.
Yeah, it's
got its place, and it's important. But they don't do that stuff, in the summer. Good. So there's some good coaches out there that will implement that. But like these guys said, when it gets varsity reps, we're gonna do everything we can to win. If you don't got it on, if you don't have it on the mound that day, we're gonna bring in the next guy. It's okay. Slap him on the butt and say it's all right. You go get the next one. And sometimes I'll be like, well, why'd you pull me out? And I'm like, well, but you just didn't have it today, and it's okay. It's not gonna be the last time you toe the rubber. So just getting them used to that stuff has been a little bit of a challenge. We have a lot of good kids that roll through our program that understand it and very knowledgeable of the game and know what's going on. So it's also been a blessing. So
I had a high school coach tell me a long time ago that getting kids, when they start to get older, the bunt thing, we need you to do this, and also for pitchers, it's okay to not throw a fastball right down the middle
yeah,
or to throw a pitch out of the strike zone once in a while, because that's what we need you to do.
Absolutely.
And Coach said that lucky you had a third eye in the middle of your forehead. And it's just part of growing up. You can tell these two guys have baseball maturity.
Yes, they do.
And that's what, when you go through a season like this, that's what you need. You need guys who are ready to just jump in and put all that behind them and say, let's go do this as a team.
Yeah, they're definitely two guys that I can lean on. I'm a little bit of a player's coach, and I like to have these guys have some input and some say in what we do. Obviously with my approval. But most of the time, they're pretty spot on what needs to go on and what needs to happen. And these two guys, they have a lot of knowledge about the game. They know what they want, and they know what we expect. These guys, I just tell them to go walk behind the wall and see everything that's happened in this program, and we got to live up to that.
Here we go. And I have a feeling we'll be talking different stories with Monterey next season. That's going to wrap us up on a Monday night. We'll be back Wednesday with Friendship, Lubbock, Cooper, and Liberty on the High School Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta, and this is 100.7 The Score.